and racing. That is a brilliant manoeuvre. Oh!
One and all to the second round of the TCR UK Championship, hosted here as what I wish to tell you would be a bright sunny Snetterton, but it's a little bit overcast here today, which could cause a little bit of problems over the weekend if we do have a little bit of smattering of rain, which to be honest would add to the excitement. Not that we need adding to the excitement, to be fair, because there is plenty of interest and intrigue, storylines all over the place after the first round at Brands Hatch. My name is Jack Oliphant. I will be pleased to be joined by Andy McEwen later in the broadcast, but you do join us for this first broadcast, which is primarily about the qualifying. We will have the races and a separate broadcast later, but more about that in a second. We're obviously here at Snetterton. Not much elevation whatsoever, very stark contrast to the Brands Hatch Indy circuit we were at about a month ago. But it is nice and long, the Snetterton 300 circuit, and well, established back in 1953, but the 300 configuration satellite much later than that. I can see the cars are already sort of in the pit lane, and as I said, I'm hoping to be able to chat to Andy McEwen in a few minutes' time. The weather, like you see, it says light rain. To be fair, I can't see any light rain out there right now. It doesn't mean it won't be coming through this qualifying. Not much wind, and overcast and cloudy throughout the day for all your TCR Civic Cup and BRSCC needs as well. We do have a whole bumper category, catalogue, I should say, actually, of races coming up for you. It's not only the TCR UK, it's also the Milltek Sports Civic Cup qualifying, which will come up shortly. We do have a race for both of those championships in the afternoon, as well as I said, the Fiesta ST240s and the Demon Tweaks Audi TT Cup Championship. So there's plenty to wet your whistle on this Saturday afternoon, and there's even more tomorrow where myself and Andy McEwen will be joined by Paul O'Neill, where we'll bring you the full action of the TCR Milltek Sports Civic Cup, the Metro Cup, the Audi TTs again, and a few other championships as well, I'm sure. The Fiesta ST240s and the juniors, actually. The juniors should be very exciting indeed. That can all come tomorrow, so if you're here for the juniors, as I said, tune in tomorrow, but stay tuned for this as well, the TCRs. We've got a couple of drivers to be interviewing in a couple of minutes' time, so that should be fairly exciting. But if we're talking about the championship, who qualified on pole position a couple of weeks ago at Brands Hatch and therefore carrying compensation weight and the likes, Callum Newsham qualified on pole position. He's also our championship leader after taking home not only pole, but a race 3 win, a race 2 second place, and in race 1 he came down in 4th position. So again, solid running from Callum Newsham, trying to shake the bad luck off him. Another driver who's hoping to shake some bad luck this weekend is Adam Shepherd, who Snetterton has historically not been his favourite circuit, but after Brands Hatch he took home a race win and 2 third places, so he's thoroughly in 2nd place, only 8 points behind Callum Newsham, our championship leader. And our reigning champion, Carl Boardley, sits 3rd in the championship. He took home 2 second places and a 5th, I believe, in Brands Hatch, a 5th on the reverse grid as well, so actually the hardest one to get back up the order. So again, Carl Boardley scoring very solid points indeed, even if he wasn't setting the world alight throughout it. The other drivers, such as Joe Marshall, Brad Hutchinson, will be pushing the envelope to try and get up there. Right, we're going to go and have a look and chat to my co-commentator-in-chief. It's Andy McEwen down at the TCR pit.
Well, welcome everybody to Snetterton for the second round of the season in the TCR UK Championship for 2024. The cars are lined up in the pit lane ahead of their qualifying session that will set the grid for the 1st and 3rd races of the weekend. Another triple header weekend coming here this weekend from Snetterton on the full 300 circuit. My name's Andy McEwen. I'll be hopping over into the commentary box to join Jack Oliphant a little bit later on for the qualifying session and race 1 to come later this afternoon. It's going to be a fascinating weekend. We saw some cracking racing at Brands Hatch last time out and a bit of a mix-up of the order as well. Our reigning champion, Carl Boardley, he had a solid weekend, scored a few decent points. Let's see if I can grab a quick chat, actually, with the reigning champ before he heads out there. Carl, qualifying coming up, really important session this. It's a long lap. You're not going to get many laps in, are you?
No, not too many laps, no. So can't really afford too many mistakes. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Like I said to you earlier, we're just struggling a little bit with this new compounder tyre to get the balance back in the car. But yeah, we had a solid sort of point score at Brands, so hopefully we'll do a decent couple of laps this time and yeah, score some more this weekend.
Well, look, you're doing better in the points at this stage than you were last year, and we know how last year ended. So I suppose on that side of things aren't looking bad. But then Snetterton last year obviously didn't go that well for you, so you haven't really got a lot of sort of experience from last season to draw on this weekend, have you? No
experience from last year at all, really. But it's not as though it's my first rodeo at being at Snetterton, is it? So we'll be okay.
Excellent, we'll leave you to it. Cheers for having a chat then. Carl Boardley, reigning champion, up there in the top 3 in the points. Not a bad start to his season. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes this time. The green flag is being waved then for qualifying. We'll have all of the action in a couple of minutes.
Let it go.
Got so much weight on my shoulders, enough to knock me out, but I'm still holding the throne. You never know till it's over. You want an honest man, but you don't understand. I won't be here when you wake up again. You want an honest man, but you don't understand. I won't be here when you wake up again. You want an honest man.
Thank you very much to Andy McEwen, who I have to say, actually, thank you very much to Andy McEwen. I have to say, it was quite entertaining watching you trying to work the gate out so you can get back across the track, but you hot-footed it in record time. Well done. Hopefully these drivers can provide just as much exciting action and are just as quick across the track as you are. Right, you had a chat to Carl Boardley there, who obviously qualified in 3rd at Brands Hatch. He said it was a solid point-scoring weekend, didn't they? With 2 second places, it's nothing to be sniffed at. He didn't set the world alight in terms of the most exciting driver out there, but you don't need to be the most exciting to win a championship, do you?
Well, like I made the point, you know, he started his season here at Snetterton just over a year ago. Not very well, really. He struggled with the setup. He just didn't really get the results out of the weekend that he wanted. Still won the championship right at the end of the season with a race to spare. So, you know, he knows that he's on to a good start to the season. His big issue is the tyres. This new compound tyre this year, for whatever reason, Carl, of all the drivers, is the one who's struggling to sort of really wrap his head around those tyres. But then Carl's disappointed because by his exceptionally high standards, he thinks he's off the pace. He's not really off the pace. He's right up there, and I'm convinced will be a threat during this session as well.
Yeah, I think it's slightly surprising as well, because I think he has driven these tyres before, but not with this specific car. So it is one of those things where he's just trying to maybe get the gel together to actually get it to work. But drivers who have managed to string it together so far, the likes of Adam Shepherd and Callum Newsham, who are 2 of the most exciting drivers on the grid, and 1st and 2nd in the championship as well. I've already spoken to them. There are a whole host of other drivers we need to mention, though, and other championships as well. In the Diamond Trophy, it's Darren Lewis who's currently leading the way. He's 7th overall in the championship, but between himself and 2nd place in the Diamond category, which is Rich Kerry, he's got 3 or 4 drivers, so he's got a nice little bit of a buffer, does Darren Lewis, and I'm sure he'll be hoping to come into this weekend extending that all the same. Brad Hutchinson in his Cooper Leon competition, he got himself into a little bit of trouble at Brands Hatch, didn't he, after some ambitious moves, shall we say, robust potentially. There is his Bondit car. He was more of a bandit, I think, going into Paddock Hill Bend rather than a Bondit, wasn't it? But he did get punished for it. He did hold his hands up as well when I chatted to him later on in that weekend. So I think hopefully we'll see a bit of a cleaner race from him and see more of his pace.
I suspect so. I think this is a track that he's gone well at in the past, I seem to recall as well. So hoping for good things from him. Of all the drivers who we expected to be quick and who have moved to a different car this year. He perhaps was the one that seemed half a step back from the rest at Brands, so he'll really be looking to try and make a big step forward in pace here at Snetterton. That is for sure. So qualifying then, only 20 minutes for 2024. This was an adjustment to the way that things run based on previous years because we have this extra race now, so they end up with the same amount of track time, but split across 4 sessions essentially, rather than just the 3. So one qualifying session of 20 minutes, followed by a race this afternoon and the 2 races tomorrow. More points up for grabs. I had a chat with Callum Newsham earlier on, and he said that does really change, actually, the mindset the drivers have to have coming into these weekends, particularly those who are in the title fight. If you miss the setup on any given weekend and you are off the pace even by a little bit, it's not just 2 races worth of points that you could be losing, it's 3. You cannot afford to have a bad weekend. I think that's why more drivers now, Jack, are stressing a little bit more, maybe, if they're not quite on the sweet spot.
And to be honest, I'm a fan of it as well. I prefer to have more opportunity to score points and more races we can get excited about as well, rather than sort of longer races and less to shout about, basically. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I can understand why some of the drivers maybe aren't, especially some drivers who always in the back of their mind think, well, the bad luck's going to come at some point. When's it going to come and how much of it am I going to get? Which I suppose maybe Callum Newsham is one of those drivers, given his past history here at the TCR. But I think, as I said, I'm personally a big fan of it. You mentioned while you were chatting to Carl Baldley there about the track. It's a long circuit, isn't it? It's a long lap. I mean, they're out laps, which they haven't even really finished here whilst we're sat here chatting, and we're nearly 6 minutes into this qualifying session because they keep coming in, swapping tyres and changing front to rears or right to lefts or whatever they have to do. It's about a 2-minute 35 lap that they're doing, and then all of a sudden they're faster laps you're going to be likely seeing in the lower 2 minutes. But that's a long old lap if you mess up the first corner, is it? To have to get back, you're only going to get a few goes at it.
Exactly. Well, speaking of getting it wrong, that is Rick Kerry who has gone around. I think that is at Hamilton, maybe, somewhere on the infield anyway, and that's a pretty spectacular spin. Now he appears to have stalled the car, gets it going again, that's good news, and Rick Kerry can continue in the session. The good thing about Snetterton is you have to try quite hard to hit anything solid if you go off. It's not a Silverstone, it doesn't have acres of tarmac runoff area, it is generally just a bit of grass, but at least those barriers are quite a long way from the edge of the circuit. Towards us then comes birthday boy Jeff Alden. Now, Jeff hadn't told anybody it was his birthday. I think, so his team say, he was hoping to keep it quiet, but no secret stays safe in motorsport, Jeff, you should know that. Happy birthday. I haven't yet got a handle on which birthday it is that we're celebrating this weekend. I'm going to do some digging later on this afternoon. We will find out, Jeff, and we wish you all the best. Hopefully some good results to celebrate with here at Snetterton.
Well, should we just go with that? It's his 19th birthday for his race number. Maybe that's the significance this year.
I think he'd be happy with that,
I think he would be very happy with it. So there you go. Happy 19th birthday, Jeff. And hopefully it comes with a few trophies coming your way as well. He's part of the Diamond Goodyear Trophy as well, obviously, and he's currently sitting 13th in the championship, but he's only 4th in that class. You never know, you could end up moving up the order a little bit. We're starting to see the sort of slightly more competitive times finally, aren't we? Actually, the first one set by Darren Lewis, who's just in front of Jeff here, that we actually saw overtake the low 2 minutes, 2-minute 2. We're expecting that to be beaten quite thoroughly, aren't we, to be honest?
Yes, and if you give me a second, I've got a stat for that, actually, because I can tell you what the qualifying lap record is, but I have forgotten off the top of my head. We actually haven't raced at Snetterton all that many times through the years, and we've not always raced on the Snetterton 300 circuit. In fact, we've only raced at Snetterton twice. Once was on the 200 circuit. That was the underwater weekend that we had at the end of 2022, and of course we raced here at the season opener last year. A race lap record around here was set by Lewis Brown in his one-off appearance at the start of last season, so I will double check what that lap time was, but certainly the trend we've seen of late, and certainly at Brands Hatch, is that these tyres are faster. If you can figure these tyres out, they're quite a bit faster. So I suspect we will see new lap records being set, perhaps by the man who has just gone to the top of the times once more.
Yeah, there we go. Into the 1 minute we go. The first person to venture into it being Callum Newsham. There's no real big surprise there, considering he got pole position at Brands Hatch. As me and Andy have mentioned plenty of times, and I'm sure Paul will tomorrow, and we'll mention plenty more times on social media and everything like that, Snetterton is a bit of a different kettle of fish. in terms of track layout and the discipline that needs to be driven compared to, say, a Brands Hatch Indy, which we were at a month ago. And it provides new challenges for the likes of Carl Boardley. He doesn't even bat an eyelid at it, does he? It doesn't matter that these cars haven't been here for 2 years. He's been here for 40, so he doesn't care, does he? But the likes of Callum Newsham and maybe Adam Shepherd, who have only done this championship over the last couple of years, potentially means they haven't really had much to practice on for the 300 set out, and they didn't get a test day yesterday. So when do you get out there? When do you test on it? They had the media day, of course, the season launch event that was here at Snetterton. So but again, the weather was really tricky, completely different day to it is today. They were pretty much underwater that day. So it's a completely different set of challenges, and they're going to have to figure that out on the way.
And if Josh Files is to be believed, which occasionally he is, I was chatting to him just now, obviously Josh Files raced in TCR here at Snetterton last year, this year, racing in the Milltek Sports Civic Cup, but he says it'll be 22 degrees later on this afternoon once the sun breaks through. Now I can believe that, because as I was chatting to him, this is, I think, a reflection of his godlike abilities, he would tell me, the sun broke through the clouds and the temperature instantly spiked. So if the cloud cover shifts for the race later on today, it could be a very, very different kind of set of track conditions and a very different kind of setup that is required. Speaking of Josh Files, he holds the qualifying lap record here around Snetterton, pole position here at the start of last season, a 156.7 at the moment. I'm sure we were in the 57s a second ago, but I think Callum Newsham may have had a lap time disallowed.
Yeah, I think so. Now we've got Lewis, but there we go. Callum Newsham's actually just had his lap time reimbursed to him. I don't think he just set another 57.4. I think that was his previous one put back to the top. Yes, I think it was actually. So we've got Darren Lewis still second. To be honest, I'm slightly surprised that we haven't seen any of the drivers. I know we're only halfway through the session, and we mentioned about how long an in-lap takes, how long an out-lap takes, about how you shift the tyres front and back or sideways or wherever way they want to configure them these days. But it's still slightly surprising to me that we haven't seen more drivers breaking that 2-minute border. As I say that, Carl Boardley has just gone and done it as well. He's a second and a half off. It's not a competitive time compared to Callum Newsham's, but it is a time that's at least sub 2 minutes.
Yes, his qualifying lap here from a year ago, Carl Boardley, was only a 58.5. He was 1 3/4 seconds off pole position. So again, he's, whichever way he looks at it, taken a massive step forward compared to how he started the season in 2023. But here in 2024 has set himself slightly higher expectations, I think it's fair to say. Callum Newsham, though, he was pretty chilled. I spoke to him about half an hour ago down in the pit lane, did a little interview for social media, and Callum Newsham feeling chilled, feeling relaxed, and not feeling the pressure of leading a championship, he said, coming into this round. He said it does sort of change your mindset. You are obviously more aware of the points, but he didn't really feel that he was under any more pressure than he had been previously. But does feel that that car is down in a straight line for whatever reason, down on straight line speed. He doesn't think it's the balanced performance, he doesn't think it's the compensation weight or anything like that. Just for some reason the car not performing quite as well in a straight line. And as technical a circuit as this is, Jack, you still need a good engine because there are an awful lot of long straights. You
do, but I'm just going to write that down as driver excuse number 1 of the weekend before we've even gone live. I mean, everybody would like a little bit of a sharper engine, as we see Adam Shepherd go to pole position by a quite substantial amount, actually. 155.929, and Joe Marshall jumps ahead of Callum Newsham as well, which I'm sure he was probably pretty pleased about, right until he heard that he was still in second place with Shepherd absolutely flying.
Well, that is, you'll be not surprised to hear, a new lap record for Adam Shepherd, a 55.9. 8/10 under the pole position time from last year, and that's his first flying lap of the session. So you have to imagine that he's going to get quicker and quicker as we go through the second half. The drivers will now have done that tyre swap that Jack was just describing. They'll have the tyres in the window. Expect some quicker lap times to come through now, and Adam Shepherd at a track where he's not always had the best of luck in his TCR UK career thus far, looking to put that right this weekend.
Yeah, no, he's doing a good job, isn't he, actually? Were they swimming around the circuit last year or something like that? I mean, 8/10 of a second is monumental, isn't it?
That was a dry qualifying session as well. It was actually very comparable to these conditions, so that is all down to the tyre.
Wow. And, of course, Adam Shepherd's supreme skill. And,
of course.
Yeah, obviously.
Goes without saying.
Callum Newsham's actually in the pits, so he's probably trying to figure out maybe a slight setup adjustment. He did do that one flying lap. We haven't seen too many other laps from him, really, that have come even close, to be honest. So I think he's probably slightly not happy. Maybe he is worried about that being down on power or something like that. Joe Marshall, obviously in second place, though, is less than 1/10 of a second away from pole position, apparently.
And I think the car ahead of him is Adam Shepherd. So these are the two cars to focus on. They're comfortably the fastest in the session right now. Joe Marshall as you said, making a big improvement that time. That is also underneath the existing qualifying lap record by about 3/4 of a second, at 56.001. But the Audi, which coming into last year, no one really knew what to expect from the Gen 2 Audi, which tracks it was going to suit, which tracks it wouldn't. Some people thought that Snetterton would really suit the Audi, and others felt that it really, really wouldn't. Well, the truth, I think, lay somewhere in between, but we did see some flashes of brilliance from Joe Marshall here, particularly in the reversed grid race last year, until he got fired off down at the S's halfway through the race. So he had front-running pace. He's definitely improved as a driver since then as well, and if he could stick it on the front row, that would set him up pretty well.
Yeah, well, we were saying about the Audi and everything, the Gen 2 car, the word from the other side of the world in Australia is the fact that the Audi is actually probably one of the best all-round cars that you can possibly get. It's quite a sought-after machine over that side of the world. So TCR cars are the same everywhere, so I imagine it means that Joe Marshall doesn't really have that many excuses, because apparently it's a very, very well-regarded car, as is most of them. And the balance of power, obviously, on all these cars have done a very good job of being able to lap very close to each other. But Adam Shepherd, he's not only set that one flying lap, he actually beat it by about 0.5 of a second the next lap, and that's why Marshall is just under a tenth away. So Shepherd is seeming he not only can do it on one flying lap, he's got a bit of consistency behind him as well.
Yes, he has indeed. Through was Mark Smith then. Mark Smith improving to 9th there. Actually, not on that previous lap. That wasn't an improvement. Boardley has just improved to 3rd. So Callum Newsham, the pole sitter from a few weeks ago at Brands Hatch, down to 4th position right now, with Brad Hutchison in 5th. And Luke Sargent, haven't actually spoken to Luke yet this weekend, but he's up there in the top 6. Mark Smith picks up a little bit of understeer through the Wilson hairpin. And that probably won't have set him up particularly well for the beginning of this latest lap. That car looks a bit of a handful, doesn't it? It was really understeery through the hairpin, then oversteery into the left-hander at Palmer's. A lot of drivers saying that to get a quick lap time out of a TCR car here at Snetterton, you have got to have it on the edge. It's got to have a very, very pointy front end, and that can make it a bit sketchy sometimes, particularly on those cold tyres. But Mark Smith seems to be staying out of trouble at least.
Yeah, it's always a bit worrying though, isn't it? If you've got understeer going into one corner, you try and overcorrect it, but you have oversteer going into the next corner, and you don't really know what to expect each, and it doesn't fill you with much confidence. And it's not like they had, as I said, much practice before this to try and get it right. So if you've turned up, like you mentioned before, with the wrong setup for the weekend, you're basically playing catch-up where everybody else is sort of finding those minute tenths of a second. You're trying to find seconds in your car. You're never really going to be able to catch up. There's Sargent, and I was actually going to mention a driver that I don't think I've seen before. He wasn't at Brands Hatch anyway. Is this Steve Laidlaw?
Yes.
He is one of the new drivers to this championship. Well, to this season anyway. I'm not sure if he's racing the championship before. When the driver commentary forms get filled out, everybody's supposed to put quite a bit about their information and what we can expect from them and everything like that. He's just put TBA on every single thing apart from his age. So I can tell you he's 42. And apparently he's racing in the Dubai Clio Cup with his son. So that's pretty cool. So he's decided to turn up for the TCR as well. And good luck to Steve. I'm not sure where he's currently. He's down in 10th, isn't he, at the moment? And quite a few seconds to catch up to the likes of Rick Kerry, but currently ahead of seasoned professionals like Mark Smith and Jeff Oldham.
That's Will Beach has had a loop, I think, down at the Agostini hairpin. I was about to mention that Will Beach is the fastest of the Gen 1 Cup drivers at the moment by quite some way. He's got about half a second in hand over Rick Kerry, but Will Beach with a bit of a moment down at Agostini's that I think we just caught him recovering from. There goes Joe Marshall. That was a 2:04.4, so that was a slow lap, and I suspect maybe he's deliberately had a slow lap, cool the tyres down, cool the brakes down, and now maybe going for his last big push. This could be a lap worth watching here for Joe Marshall. He drops down into the Wilson hairpin. You can see the front of the Audi working overtime to keep the car at the apex, and then hooks up the throttle on corner exit. That's always been a strength of the Audi, the traction off those low-speed corners, and Joe Marshall really wringing the neck of the RS3 as he winds his way through Palmer's, trying to find that tenth of a second that he needs.
Yeah, he's probably on the edge, isn't he? A nice and a dip of the nose there as they go into Agostini. No dramas there at all, is there? There's no understeer, no oversteer. You can just see that the car has a little bit of a weight leaning on the right-hand side of the tyres, and he just managed to keep the grip nice and smooth on the entry through Hamilton's there as well. It just looks like a car that's pretty hooked up to me. He's very much on it. Adam Shepherd may well be... I would say he'd be watching this. He's obviously not watching. He's out there on the circuit as well. But his team may well be watching this thinking he's a little bit worried because he's absolutely on it, is Joe Marshall. He doesn't need to find that much to catch up. Carl Boardley has set his own personal qualifying record. He's gone into the 1 minute 57s, not quite into the 56s. 157.002 is Carl Boardley's best, but he's currently good enough for third position. Fourth is Callum Newsham, and the only driver who's in the pits is Brad Hutchinson. Nearly 2 seconds off the pace in terms of qualifying position. That's not going to be where Brad wanted to be, which is a bit of a shame for him. He's going to, as I said, be playing a little bit of catch-up. He's actually done a lap or two less than everybody else, which means he's probably been in the pits a little bit longer than he would like as well. Something not quite right with the car, but there is something quite right with this Audi. As Joe Marshall is about to come across the line, let's see where he can do. No, he doesn't come us across the line. We were complimenting the lap the whole way through. He decides to come into the pits. Maybe he screwed it up going around Corham or something.
Yes, quite possible, but that will be his session done now. Only 45 seconds to go. Mark Smith still pushing on, trying to find a little bit of lap time. Not succeeding in doing so at the moment, though. It does seem that drivers are struggling to find pace in the closing stages of the session, aren't they, really?
Yeah, that was a little bit of a squirrely moment, actually, for him there, going through the left-hander, but it looks like Smith is going to probably not improve. He's right over on that white line, so it does look like he's trying to maximise. There's so much understeer in that Cupra, it's unreal, and whatever he's doing is sort of not really working, unfortunately, for him. There is that Will Beech's car? I think it is. Just trying to cool it down. A lot of smoke coming from it, or steam, probably more than anything, actually, rather than smoke. Yeah, struggling with Will Beech's car. It's a bit of a shame. As the checkered flag's about to drop, we are going to send Andy McEwen back over to have a chat to some of our drivers, namely Adam Shepherd. As Callum Newsham jumps up to third place ahead of Carl Boardley, just to change Andy's qualifying interview order. But our championship leader jumps up to third as Smith comes across. Boardley comes across the line. Doesn't improve. It's stuck in that 1 minute 57. As I said in the race, you don't really need to worry about overall fast lap pace. You just need to be able to score well, and that is what Boardley is very good at, just waiting and picking off his positions when needs be. That's how he got all his positions in Brands Hatch a month ago. Across the line goes our pole sitter. Adam Shepherd can't do much more then, and actually he set another fastest lap. He's set 55.6, so Adam Shepherd improves his pole position time ahead of Joe Marshall. He seems to be the driver to beat. We mentioned about how his bad luck at Snetterton. Is this the year that his luck turns? He'll be very much looking forward and hoping for. Anyway, Joe Marshall is still out there. Well, actually, no, he was in the pits, wasn't he? Has he gone back out? He doesn't show up as in the pits on either TSL or on our stream, but I don't think he'd have been able to get out there and set another time, so maybe he's just going out and trying to figure out whether it's improved the car or not. Brad Hutchinson is in the pit. Luke Sargent and Darren Lewis are probably going to come in. I'm not sure if they're improving at all. There is Adam Shepherd, what looks like going a relatively sedate pace. I'm not sure if they sent him out with the idea of potentially getting a qualifying time out of him, or whether they were just hoping that he could go out and see if there was a problem that needed fixing. But on pole sorry, no, I was talking about Joe Marshall there. Pole position man Adam Shepherd on our screen right there. So the top 10, or in fact the full results actually can be brought up on your screen now, with Adam Shepherd on pole position, a great lap by himself, with Joe Marshall in second place. Callum Newsham, championship leader, is in third. Fourth is Carl Boardley, reigning champion currently. Fifth is Brad Hutchinson, who maybe didn't get out as much as he would like in that qualifying session. Luke Sargent in sixth position. Darren Lewis in seventh. Rick Kerry in eighth. Will Beech in ninth. Steve Laidlaw in 10th. Mark Smith in 11th. And Jeff Alden in 12th place. Rick Kerry going ahead of Will Beech, actually, right at the end there in 8th place. Means that he is top of the Gen 1 Cup, which is a little bit of pride for himself. Rick Kerry and Will Beech obviously fighting that one out with the likes of Jeff Alden and Bradley Thurston, Darryl Wilson, who unfortunately aren't here this weekend. So those two are really sort of going at it nice and closely. And then we've got the Diamond Trophy as well with Darren Lewis, Rick Kerry, Mark Smith, Jeff Alden, Alex Jones and Simon Mauger in terms of the championship overall. But I think it's Darren Lewis who once again sits on top of that particular championship. So a really good qualifying session all in all. We do have the Civic Cup left on there. Hey, there's Andy McEwen going across the track. We do have the Civic Cup qualifying coming up in a couple of minutes' time. We're going to have all the reaction from the TCR. Then we'll have build-up for the Civics. And then the stream will end. There'll be another stream if you keep it pinned to the TCR UK YouTube channel or Alpha Live YouTube channel. You can watch on either one. And you can see all the BRSEC ST240 Championship, the Audi TTs as well, and all the races coming up for you this afternoon and tomorrow. So we're going to go to a very quick ad break or advert break before we have a chat to all our podium finishers after qualifying.
Is your business ready to switch over to cloud telephony before the BT analogue switch off? If you're not sure, you can get a telecoms and IT health check from Maximum Networks for free, covering broadband, phone systems, IT support and more. Arrange your free audit today at maximumbnetworks.co.uk.
Let it go.
Got so much weight on my shoulders. Enough to knock me out, but I'm still holding the throne. You never know till it's over. You want an honest man, but you don't understand. I won't be here when you wake up again. You want an honest man, but you don't understand. I won't be here when you wake up again. You want an honest man.
So as we saw at Brands Hatch, it is a lap record pace in qualifying for TCR UK. This time, though, it is a Cupra on pole, and it's Adam Shepherd who joins me now in the pit lane. Adam, congratulations. Perfect start to the weekend, really. That pole position, not by a huge margin, but it seems like you've got the car dialed in.
Yeah, it was great. We were really fast yesterday. We went actually 3 tenths quicker than today yesterday, so we knew the pace was there. We knew from Brands the pace was there. It's just a matter of time getting it together, so no, really pleased with that.
Obviously, a brilliant start to the season at Brands Hatch, that second race in particular, but some good points scored too. And now this just sort of emphasises the point that you've got a bit of consistency on your side too.
Yeah, definitely. We're carrying a lot of ballast, obviously, as well from round one, so the car's new to us still. It's only the second time we've driven it this weekend, so there's more time to come for sure, which is good. The car, even in qualifying, was very good, but there's still some tweaks to make. So fingers crossed we can improve it further, and yeah, well pleased.
That's ominous for everyone else, isn't it, that there might be yet more pace to be had out of the car. Are you noticing any differences in the car between here and Brands Hatch? You mentioned the extra weight, and this is a long and very technical lap, lots of braking, lots of accelerating.
Yeah, not really noticing the weight, to be honest. I don't think it's a thing that people say that you do. I don't believe you really notice the weight. I think you're just generally slower. The car setup's a lot different to Brands Hatch. We thought we would come here trying some stuff and it didn't work, so we went and it was better again. So still learning, but yeah, the car was phenomenal. Big thanks to 5G Communications, our main sponsor. We literally wouldn't even have the car or be on the grid without their support. So huge thank you to those guys as well, and the team, obviously.
Of course, who always do a fantastic job. Thoughts now for the race then? Obviously you've got a race today now, so normally you'd have a bit of time to relax and put a plan together for tomorrow, but you don't have that luxury now. Starting from pole position, you've got to be expecting a race win, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, you can never expect anything, but it'd be nice. We're in a good place. We use a lot less tyres than everyone else at Brands Hatch, which obviously you don't particularly see on TV. So we've got tyres in hand as well over our competitors. So it's looking a good situation, but you know more than anyone, Andy, what happens with our luck sometimes. So let's just take it as it comes and see how we get on.
Now, you mentioned that, not me. I am not to blame, everyone. Right, well done, Adam. Congratulations on pole. Let's see who else we can find then. If we have a little wander down the old pit lane. Got the cars heading out for our next qualifying session as well, making a bit of a racket, but there are other drivers around who I do want to try and have a little chat with. Joe Marshall, of course, will be lining up on the front row with Adam Shepherd. Let's see who else we can find, though, down here. We've got Mark Smith, who we saw was putting some laps together out there. See if we can grab a word with Mark Smith. Mark, can we grab you for a sec? Is that all right? Get a little chat with Mark Smith. We saw a lot of you during that qualifying session. Looked like you were exploring the limits a little bit, and maybe the handling of the car with a bit more work to be done.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, I'm struggling at the moment. Like, I've had Ben Shepherd coming out me this weekend, and he's changed a lot of stuff. And I think 90% driver, 10% car. I've got to start learning how to drive it properly now. So, but I've enjoyed it, but I know I'm not quick enough at the moment. So.
Comes with time, though, and everyone else has taken a big step forward this year too.
Yeah.
So the goalposts have been moved, really, haven't they? And you don't really have anyone to use as a reference, so it must be tricky to know what needs improving, let alone how to improve it.
Yeah, but like I say, the team got data which I've never had before, so with that, I can see where I'm slow and where I need to improve in my own style. We work, and I'm struggling to get out to test, and one thing or another, it's little bits all the time chipping away, you know what I mean? So hopefully by the end of the season I'll be able to hold on to the back. So that's my hope anyway. So, but I'm enjoying it. That's the main thing. So, but I love the cars. So it's very good.
That's what we like to hear, Mark. We'll let you get back to debriefing after the qualifying session. Mark Smith there, who will be starting towards the tail end of the field. Watch your back, Laura, because Adam Shepherd's car is just being pushed back towards its position in the garage. Now, drivers, as soon as a qualifying session finishes, disappear into thin air. This happens all the time. There's Will Beach's car. In fact, there is Will Beach. Let's have a word, shall we, with Will, because he wasn't actually the fastest of the Gen 1 drivers. Will, could we grab you for a little chat out here quickly, if that's all right? Will Beach, second fastest in the Gen 1 Cup in that qualifying session in his Golf. We had a little chat for social media earlier on, Will. You were reasonably confident, I think, ahead of that session. Did it meet your expectations?
Yeah, we were going well then. About 5-10 minutes from the end, 5 minutes from the end, I would say, burst the radiator. So that was that, and we were just getting faster and faster as well. So roll on the race now.
Do you know what caused that with the radiator then? Was it a bit of debris on track?
I don't know yet. We're not allowed to touch, so we just wait till we get out of park firmly, then go from there.
And of course the challenge now is that you don't have a lot of time before race one to get that sorted, but you've got a good team here, haven't you, with Capture? They'll be able to get the car sorted?
Oh yeah, I've got every faith in the lads. They'll get onto it as soon as they're at park firmly, and we'll get on straight onto it.
Good stuff. Well, Will Beach, thank you very much for having a chat. Then second fastest of the Gen 1 Cup drivers, Rick Kerry was actually the fastest Gen 1 driver, and I did see Rick a second ago. I'll see if I can dig him out in a moment or two. There's Darren Lewis's Hyundai and Callum Newsham's example as well. Callum, third quickest in the end in that session. Is Callum anywhere to be seen? Let's just stick my head in the garage, see if we can spot Callum Newsham. No, I think Callum has vanished as well. So we'll keep walking and speak to this man. There we go. That worked out perfectly, because only a few minutes ago I was saying I hadn't spoken to Luke Sargent yet this weekend. Hi. Luke always brightens my weekend, so here we are. How was qualifying for you?
That was good. P6. We knew we were going to be P6. We knew where we were going to go. Annoyingly, I was making mistakes. I think I had 3 quick laps on the qualifying, and every one I made a mistake at a different corner. So I think we'd have been in the 57s if I'd have kept it together and all the bits had gone wrong. But no, it was good. We knew we were 6. We knew coming into it we were going to be 6. I knew I wasn't top 4. I thought the chance might beat Brad. I knew I was in front of the ones behind, so it was just go round, get a 57 for my own sanity, and then just try and race later on and tomorrow, see how we get on.
And in a way that's good then, so you've delivered upon the pace that you felt like you had, but are you getting a bit frustrated because you're so close, aren't you, to breaking into that front-running group? Yeah. What's it going to take, do you think, to find it? It's only a couple of tenths, isn't it, really? Yeah,
things here, I've only been here twice in the dry. Last year was an I-30, it rained for 2 days, and then I had 10 laps in the dry. Then yesterday was really the first decent day in the dry here, so I haven't got much time around here. So to get in the 58s consistently, I was quite happy with how little running I've got. Bear in mind that Adam and Bordley and everyone else have been here so many times, they know it like the back of their hand. So I'm happy where I am. I knew it's where we were going to be. I'd like to have been 5th, but I think going to Alton and from there, I think we can probably do top 5, maybe top 4 on the right day. But here was just how long it is. It was never going to happen. But
You never know what might...
I'm honest.
Yeah, no, we appreciate the honesty, we do. And you never know what can happen in the race. All hell could break loose, couldn't it? So, Luke, we'll let you...
Hopefully.
Yes, not involving you this time, eh? Luke Sargent then starting from the third row of the grid for our first TCR UK race a bit later on today. That is it for qualifying then for TCR UK. Obviously, they will have that race a bit later on. But let's now hear a few things that we caught up with the drivers on a little bit earlier in the season.
We're here at the TCR Media Day, and as you know, at TCR, we ask all of the important questions. Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Brown bread or white bread?
White.
What goes in a toaster?
Bread.
Do we like it wet or dry?
Very wet.
Very.
Very, very wet.
Very, very.
Got to be very wet. The car likes it very wet. I like it very wet.
Hi there, guys. Just making sure we're asking some important questions today. What do you reckon came first, the chicken or the egg?
Egg.
Egg first. What about yourself?
Chicken.
I don't know. Well, you better fight for it then, didn't you? Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Superman or Batman?
Batman.
Nice, good answer. I like Batman. Brad. What came first, the chicken or the egg?
I don't know.
Pick one.
Chicken, probably, because who laid the egg?
Yeah, but then...
No, the chicken will come from a dodo, something else or something, and that'll have been born some other way or something. Something's got to lay the egg, hasn't it? And I don't know, it hurts my head, all this stuff.
Wet or dry?
Oh, wet, every time.
You're looking in luck right now.
Yeah.
And Batman or Superman?
Probably Superman.
Ketchup or brown sauce?
I've never tried brown sauce. But it's a ketchup.
What?
Yeah, I know. I've been saying that I'd try to build up the courage to try it for a while now. But
build up the courage?
Well, it's brown sauce. It doesn't sound great, does it? So I've never tried it in my life. But yeah, ketchup, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, Brad. Thank you. Superman or Batman?
Batman.
Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Ketchup or brown sauce?
Definitely both.
At the same time?
At the same time.
Wow. And what goes in a toaster?
Bread.
Nice. Switched on. Hi there, guys. Sorry to interrupt your testing. We just sort of come over. What came first, chicken or the egg?
Haven't got a clue, to be honest. Probably the egg. I don't know.
Brown sauce or ketchup?
Brown sauce any day. Brown sauce.
With the egg?
Yeah, brown sauce with fried egg. Better option.
Sweet or savoury?
Savoury.
Wet or dry?
Depends on the car.
What goes in a toaster?
Bread.
Nice. Guys, we're sorry to interrupt. We're doing some important investigative research. What do you reckon came first, chicken or the egg?
Of course, a hard one. Egg.
Egg. Well, where did the egg come from?
From him. Look, he's got a few in there.
What do you reckon, chicken or egg?
I think the bloke who said the chicken or the egg was nuts, so neither.
There we go. And wet or dry? No, Carl, wet or dry? Wet or dry? What do you prefer? Wet or dry?
Depends.
I think the interview's done.
There's no point coming in here, is it?
Done ya.
We are Big Motoring World, one of the largest car supermarkets in the UK. We have over 5,000 cars in stock. We are big on choice. We are big on value. We are big on quality. We are big on service. We are big on trust. All of our cars come with a 200-point mechanical inspection. We know what is important to our customers, and we have built the business around this because we are big on what matters to you.
Next year, BT switch off their old analogue network for good. Make sure your business is ready to switch over to cloud telephony. Get a telecoms and IT health check from Maximum Networks today, for free. Future-proof your business now. Arrange your free audit today at maximumnetworks.co.uk.
Let it go.
miles for the lead. Side by side, who's going to be the bigger man?
Got so much weight on my shoulders, enough to knock me out, but I'm still holding the throne. You never know till it's over. You want an honest man, but you don't understand. I won't be here when you wake up again. You want an honest man, but you don't understand. I won't be here when you wake up again. You want an honest man.
Is your business ready to switch over to cloud telephony before the BT analog switch off? If you're not sure, you can get a telecoms and IT health check from Maximum Networks for free, covering broadband, phone systems, IT support and more. Arrange your free audit today at maximumnetworks.co.uk.
Well, welcome to the assembly area ahead of our first Civic Cup action of the weekend. Qualifying coming up for the Milltek Sport Civic Cup in just a few moments' time. Let's see if we can grab a word with a few drivers whilst we're here. Where better to start than with the championship leader, the reigning champion, Max Edmondson. Max, welcome to Snetterton. Feeling confident ahead of qualifying?
No, but after yesterday's test, I was struggling big time. So if I'm in the top 10, I'll be very surprised.
I'd say I want to believe you, but I somehow find that hard to believe.
I was struggling a lot yesterday.
Really?
I was struggling at Brands as well, obviously, as you said on the comms, but I was struggling a lot yesterday. Everyone else was equally as struggling, but they had time in it, and I didn't. So that's what, yeah, I will be. I'll aim for top 5. If I'm in the top 10, I wouldn't be surprised.
So pole position coming up for Max Edmondson then. Best of luck. Hopefully we see him towards the front of the grid. Who else we got? Liam McGill is here. Let's have a little chat with Liam, shall we? Sorry to interrupt what I'm sure was a very important conversation. Liam, are you excited ahead of qualifying? What are your realistic goals this morning?
I'm actually unsure, to be honest. Testing yesterday was quite difficult. We had engine problems, so we've had to change the engine overnight, and because of that we've got 30 kilo ballast in the car. So we're just going to have to take it as it comes. It's definitely going to be a step forward from yesterday. Anywhere in the top 10 we'd be happy with today.
That weight really will affect you here as well, won't it? Very technical infield section, lots of braking zones, acceleration zones, so you're going to feel it there. Does that mean you have to really sort of push extra hard in other areas of the track?
It's one of these ones, like the Civic Cup, when I first come here and started it, you felt like you wanted to really attack, but actually you get to a point where you actually start going quite slow. So you want to drive like 100% and wind it back 5% from there, and that's when you're quick. So no is the answer, unfortunately. You're just going to have to drive it as well as you can and try and be as consistent as you can, really.
Well, you know what you're doing, Liam. Best of luck for qualifying then, Liam McGill. So that's interesting. Bit of extra weight in his car after that engine change. Let's wander over this way, shall we then? Because I've just spotted a former TCR UK champion. It is Lewis Kent. Second weekend in the Civics full time anyway. Going to keep all 4 wheels on it this time?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate in race 2 at Brands. I think we could have been on for a win there. We just set the fastest lap. We were quite a lot quicker than the 3 in front. I just latched onto the back of Will as well. I think within a lap I pulled in about 4 or 5 temps onto him. Yeah, it's one of those things at the end of the day. We bought 8 new rims for the car, so we're not taking any chances. Just going to have to see how it goes. We had quite good pace yesterday. Still a little bit to find, but I'm sure we'll be able to do that now. I think a toe is going to be quite big. Especially around here, you know, you've got the long straights. It's a 3-mile track at the end of the day, so it's yeah, it's one of those ones that if you're not sitting behind someone, you might be losing out 4 or 5 temps a lap. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Hope for the best, and yeah, hopefully if we can get in the top 3 or 4 in qualifying, I'm sure the races will sort themselves out. I've always been better at racing than I have been at qualifying anyway.
And we've seen you win races here at Snetterton over the years too. You're looking very relaxed, I have to say. It's nice to see this from you, really, because the last few years, TCR UK, high pressure environment. You're still taking this seriously, aren't you? But do you feel that maybe you're enjoying your racing a bit more now?
Yeah, with the TCR, obviously, I won it in 2020 and 2021. I was only 20 and 21, so by the time I was 2022, I was a 2-time champion. So everyone sort of looked at me every time I go out and was expecting me to win. It was getting to the point where even when I was having 4th or 3rd places, people were coming in and going, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Well, nothing's wrong. I've just had a good result, but everyone expects you to do better." This is quite nice. You haven't got any pressure on yourself. As I say, I come in as pretty much as a rookie. So yeah, we're just going to take it as it goes. And as you say, I'm enjoying myself here. It's a great championship, great family sort of orientated championship. All the team that I'm with, we're all really good mates. We all have a mess about in the afternoon. Yeah, it's really nice to be back in a racing that's less pressure and more fun.
Excellent. Well, the pressure might be about to build. Engines firing. I'll let you get ready then, because qualifying is coming up shortly for the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. It's starting to get a little bit warmer down here as well now. That sun just starting to break through the clouds. So track conditions are going to be changing for the better for us, but perhaps not for the best for the drivers as they try and keep life in the tyres. It'll be a fascinating qualifying session, and it's coming up next here at Snetterton.
Thank you very much to Mr. McEwen as the rest of the BRSCC support packages start to come back in. We can see yellow flags being waved around everywhere to signify that the checkered flag has been out. This is the Fiesta Juniors that are currently out there doing their free practice. Their qualifying session actually comes up later in the afternoon, actually, so they get a bit of practice before, unlike the rest of the categories. Might as well let them have a little bit of track time. So it's quite interesting listening to Lewis Kent there, actually. Saying about how much pressure was on him when he was in the TCR Championship, and how much he's sort of like falling back in love with racing in the Civics, which is always nice to see. I think Andy mentioned actually there the championship leader Max Edmondson. I think he was talking to Lewin McGill actually in front of Max Edmondson's car, and it did confuse me because I suddenly looked towards my monitor and all of a sudden I saw somebody who wasn't Edmondson in front of Edmondson's car. I thought that was a bit confusing, but it was Max is on 114 points. He's got a healthy margin, about 29 points ahead of Spencer Stevenson, who is in 2nd place. We mentioned him in the preview. One of the drivers that sort of surprised us a little bit. We didn't really know what to expect from Spencer, therefore we didn't really give him the build-up that he potentially deserved. At Brands Hatch, we were focusing on the likes of Alistair Camp, Josh Files, Max Edmondson, Lewis Kent and the likes. So it was really nice to see Spencer sort of hustling it in the sharp end, shall we say, with the rest of the field, and certainly giving them something to think about. In fact, I think Spencer Stevenson came away with a 2nd place, but didn't get on the podium apart from that, which just goes to show how consistent he must have been to get into that 2nd place in the championship. Josh Files is also on 85 points. Is currently registered as 3rd of the championship, with 2 third places as well for Josh Files. In fact, actually, if you go back to Brands Hatch and look at their race 1 and look at the top 3, they're actually the same as the top 3 in the championship. Max Edmondson winning the 1st race, Spencer Stevenson 2nd in the 1st race, and Josh Files 3rd in the 1st race. Alistair Camp is a driver that we weren't necessarily expecting a race win, which is a weird thing to say when we talk about Alistair Camp. We do expect race wins from him, but with that FN2 going away from the EP3s, which most of the Civic Cup drivers race in, it was something that we were expecting maybe it'd take him a little bit longer to get used to. It wasn't the case. The first race he was dicing with Dave Marshall, and that reverse grid race he ended up coming out on top, getting into the race lead, and we all know how much he likes to win races and how good he is at them. So he currently sits in 4th place in the championship, and 1 point ahead of Will Redford, who is a driver along with the likes of Harvey Caton and Dave Marshall, had a really nice sort of battle going throughout the races at Brands Hatch. We're hoping that sort of rivalry and intrigue can carry on here into Snetterton as well. This 3-mile circuit is very, very different. If you watched our TCR coverage earlier on with the qualifying, or if you watch the previews of anything on social media, which we do implore you to do, then you may well have seen us talk about how different this circuit is compared to Brands Hatch and the different kinds of challenges it may well face. I can tell you that Andy McEwen has rejoined me in the commentary box, but currently he is just catching his breath. He's ran all the way from the assembly area, and anybody who hasn't been to Brands Hatch before, the assembly area, Snetterton, the assembly area is right at the pit entry, and the commentary area, which we are here today, is all the way by the pit exit and across the track as well. So he's had to hot-foot it across. I'm giving him 1 second. He just had a puff of his inhaler. So it's getting to that point. It's not even lunch yet, Andy, but I'm glad to see you back with me.
It's doing my asthmatic lungs no good at all. I'm trying to see it as much needed exercise, but struggling to see the bright side right now. But the main reason I'm suffering really is it's getting warm out there now. It is really starting to get quite humid. And that concerns me because it's getting warm, but it's not getting brighter. The fact that the humidity is rising, we've still got these dark clouds overhead. You can see where I'm going with this, can't you? There is, I suspect, the threat of some rain later on this afternoon. It's got that feel in the air at the moment. But, hey, we'd be complaining if it was cold. We'd be complaining if it was in single figures temperature-wise. It is quite warm out there. And that will help the drivers in the Civic Cup. It's a short session. They're front-wheel drive cars. Warming up those rear tyres can be a challenge. At least now that track temperature's building, that shouldn't take quite as long.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell we were British by our accents, you can definitely tell we're British by the way we complain about whatever the weather is doing. Doesn't matter what it throws at us, there is something wrong with it. But yeah, it should set up a decent day. Our Alpha Live weather reports that we had at the beginning of the stream said that there are potentially light rain currently, and then actually it's just supposed to stay overcast. That could mean it throws one way or the other, couldn't it? We could end up getting streaks of sunlight followed by thunderstorms half an hour later, and you just might well be the wrong person out on the track at the wrong time if you do get those thunderstorms. But the Civic Cups are now coming out, and there's an absolutely humongous grid of these drivers. There is Alistair Camp going past in his FN2. The rest of them, the EP3s, of course, like I mentioned before. But yeah, Andy, there's a whole host of them. The grid is absolutely packed here, isn't there? They'll keep coming out for about 10 minutes' time. So what we're expecting from qualifying is a bit of a difference to the TCR, isn't it? With the TCR, obviously, there's a lot of track space. There's the opportunity to get your own sort of run of the field. Civics, you got to have all the traffic. You got to have the ability to find the space and time your run.
You have, yes, and that traffic can be a challenge. I know it's a 3-mile track. You give them a 33-mile track and they'd still get in each other's way. That's just the way that it works out there. Especially because, as we heard Lewis Kent saying in that interview there, you really actually don't want to be on your own. You want somebody to work with. The slipstream is quite important in these cars, especially down the long pit straight, the long back straight here at Snetterton. So you kind of want to be close to somebody, but not too close. And it's got to be somebody that you're probably a similar pace to, if not slightly slower. Otherwise you end up catching them and then tripping over them as well. So there's a real art to qualifying, actually. And over such a long lap, if you drop a few tenths of a second, such a competitive grid, that can drop you 2 or 3 rows on that grid. So you've got to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember you can learn a lot as well, can't you? I think when I was racing, I've been racing for about 2 years and learned quite a lot from other drivers, and then all of a sudden a certain driver that I don't know if you've heard of called Michael Crease. Yes, he decided to turn up at my team, and actually he won't tell you this, but the first race, the first round or two, he was rubbish. He was nowhere, and all of a sudden we went to Alton Park, and annoyingly it was my brother decided to tell him, right, just follow Jack and you might learn a thing or two. So he followed me and instantly started winning the championship from then on, and has gone on to do great things. So he clearly had it in him, but it's just that sort of thing where if you do learn a few bits and bobs from the drivers ahead of you in sessions like qualifying and stuff, then it can really help moving forward, and it can really, the likes of Spencer Stevenson, who's potentially new to the championship, he's clearly got pace behind him. If he learns a thing or two in certain circuits, maybe he's not as experienced in these cars, all of a sudden he could be quite easily beating the front end of the field, which is what we've seen. One thing I've noticed for the Civic Cup session as well, that actually took me slightly by surprise, shows how prepared I am for this session. It's 15 minutes, isn't it? Rather than the 20 that we got from the TCRs. So everything we were saying about the TCR maybe slightly rushing the qualifying everything, the Civic Cup drivers have that and then some, don't they? All of a sudden they're having to try and find the track space, but also having to put the lap times in really very quickly indeed. You don't get much time at all.
Yeah, and I suppose that really comes from the... Whoa, Max Edmondson, that was a moment through Palmer's, and Josh Files, look at that. Will Redford off the track as well. That is down at Rich's, I think, the first corner. So, to your point, some of them are really pushing hard in the early stages and perhaps getting it slightly wrong. But yeah, these 15-minute qualifying sessions, it's very much a club racing thing, isn't it, really? Lots of club racing championships, only 15 minutes, because most club racing championships, a driver will turn up with the car on the trailer, they'll bang some tyres on it, they'll keep the same setup over the whole season, they'll go out, they'll do a couple of laps, and they'll look at the times. It's really a mark of how Civic Cup has moved on over the last 6 or 7 years in particular. Big teams now like Area Motorsport, Pro Alloys, coming into the championship and taking it very, very, very seriously. That actually you kind of now feel like 15 minutes isn't really long enough. They'd love to throw a few different setups at the car and try and tinker with tyre pressures and maybe swap the tyres over TCR style, but they don't have the time to do it, and I quite like that because it puts the pressure on the teams to nail that setup straight away, puts the pressure on the drivers to nail the lap straight away, especially around here where you don't get that many bites of the cherry.
No, absolutely not, and it's exciting, isn't it? It means that we do get sideways moments, we get drivers trying it when the rear tyres aren't necessarily as warm as they'd like to be, and it does mean that the teams are also kept on their toes. It also means that the pressures in the tyres are actually slightly different to where they would optimally be if they could have a 20-minute run. They're maybe pumping them up a little bit higher so they can get the temperature in it. But as you can see, they're snaking around all over the place. I mean, we went into Agostini earlier with, I think it was on this lap, but watching Alistair Camp go into it, and he was full rear lockup, trying to get some heat into them. Not worried about a flat spot, or maybe it was a mistake. I don't think it was a mistake because he's far better than that. But he was trying to generate anything he can into the tyre wall to try and get some grip. There is Kirkpatrick hunkered up behind the back of another driver. Again, probably trying to do that thing that you were talking about earlier and trying to maybe use the slipstream and carry some momentum.
And that is not just any other driver, it's Max Edmondson, isn't it? Championship leader. Now, that was a fascinating interview with Max down in assembly area. Max is not normally lacking in confidence, I think it's fair to say. He backs himself, quite rightly. Very talented driver, won the championship last year, won 2 races at Brands Hatch. There's no denying he's got the ability. For him to say he thinks he's going to struggle to get into the top 10 was a very interesting comment for him in particular to make. I do take it with a pinch of salt, but he's not normally the kind of driver to undersell himself, so he really does feel that he's going to have time left on the board. He also predicted, off camera before we went live, pole position would be a 2:08.7. He said that's the sort of pace, or 2:08.7, 2:08.8 possibly. That's the pace that Josh Files was running in testing yesterday, he says. He also says if Josh Files isn't on pole position, says Max Edmondson, he's going home. Because he says that there's no way anyone other than Josh Files should be lining up on the front of the grid. And so far, his prediction's accurate, although that is quite a bit off the pace that I think they'll ultimately see.
Do you reckon that's some kind of mind games for Max Edmondson in trying to take the pressure off himself and trying to place it on another driver who maybe has probably shouldered it all before and has sort of been there, doing that and everything like that? I don't really know, but it's Alistair Camp on second as well, which is quite astonishing. I mean, Josh Files, maybe we would come to expect it, and in previous years we'd come to expect Alistair Camp on the front row as well, but realistically in that FN2, has he found something now? Has he been out testing? I don't know if you've spoken to him in part of your interview so far today, Andy, but hopefully we'll be playing darts with him or something with him, Jenga with him or something like that over the course of the weekend, and maybe we'll get a little bit more out of him. But Kirkpatrick up in third place is another driver that we haven't really spoken about whatsoever. Sam Kirkpatrick is down in 16th in the championship. We see Jordan Brennan, who had a really unfortunate Brands Hatch actually, and I went to chat to him during one of your safety cars actually on the Sunday, and he wasn't in a state that really I thought would promote live stream well-being. So I thought I'd let him off on that one, but he didn't have a good Brands Hatch, and it looks like his Snetterton is not started off pretty well either.
No, that is unfortunately looking like the case. Hopefully they can get that car sorted, but Josh Files going quicker again now, 2:09.3. Lewis Kent up into second position now, with Camp third and Edmondson fourth. So Edmondson said he was aiming at maybe maximum for top 5. Well, at the moment he's doing that. Sam Kirkpatrick 5th, Harvey Caton 6th, Liam McGill 7th, Jack Riddell 8th. That was Cristoforo going 9th, and Josh Bromley inside the top 10. Will Redford now goes 7th, despite that grassy moment that he had a bit earlier on. So who is not in the top 10 that should be? Well, Dave Marshall is the first one that springs to mind, only 12th at the moment, really. Jordan Brennan down in 18th position as well. And Alex Kite yet to set a lap time. Alex Kite, we know, is regularly a top 10 runner in this championship. At car 97 is out on track, but hasn't yet posted a lap time. So I think there's still more to play out in this, with just under half the session to go.
Yeah, one of the highlights actually from Brands Hatch for me was Redford, Caton, Marshall and Kite, actually. That sort of just inside the top 10 battle, where it's sort of, if you get stuck, if you're a driver who's recovering, or maybe you're a reverse grid, you get stuck trying to get past those 4 drivers or 5 drivers or that melee, it can really hamper you. It can really sort of stop you potentially going on to get all the way through and winning a race. So they're fantastic to watch, and they're always reliable. If the race is a bit boring at the front, put it back down to 6th or 7th, you'll probably find the likes of a Will Redford or a Harvey Caton doing something mad and something interesting. And fingers crossed they can improve just a touch, get a bit closer to the drivers at the front end of the field, and then they can start doing mad and interesting things for the podium positions.
Alistair Camp, third quickest in the FN2 at the moment. A quick little group of drivers here, isn't it? You've got Edmondson, Kirkpatrick, Files and Camp all pretty close together, and they're all about to come through and complete a lap time. So this group, we could see some improvements within. Josh Files quickest at the moment, as we've said, with that 209.3, but that's still some way off the pace that was anticipated. Kirkpatrick goes fourth, interestingly ahead of Edmondson, and Spencer Stevenson makes his first appearance inside the top 10 as well. One of the stars of the show from Brands Hatch is up in 7th position, but 1.3 seconds off the pace. Liam McGill goes 9th with that extra weight that he's carrying, courtesy of the engine change. 4/10 of a second at the moment, the advantage for Josh Files. He's down to a 209.1 now. Pole position last year, Dan Thackeray, a 209.0, so we are just over a 10th of a second away from the pace even from last year. I have to wonder how much of that is to do with that temperature climbing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You just mentioned Liam McGill there, actually. I was having a biscuit because I've had quite a nice relaxed morning. Don't know about you,
Tell
Andy,
me more about that, Jack.
And when I looked back to the screen, I saw Edmondson's car, but then I saw you talking to someone who definitely wasn't Edmondson. Proper sent me west. I was like, I don't know who is this person? Has Edmondson had a haircut? I realised it was Liam McGill towards the end of the interview. But yeah, also Lewis Kent, you chatted to him as well, didn't you? And I liked how relaxed he was and how much he was falling back in love with motorsport and everything like that. Well, but I did find it quite hard to follow his interview at one point because he was saying about how he won the championship in 2021 when he was 2021 and he was coming second and first, and I was like, just too many 20s, I don't know what you're on about, mate. But yeah, a great drive, and it's nice to see someone who had this sort of awareness to take a step. Not back, because the Civic Cup isn't necessarily a step back, but it's not the headline act, is it? It's not the pressure, and it's not quite the same amount of money to enter and everything like that. So to take that step slightly sideways and think, you know what, I'll reassess, I'll cut my teeth in something that's got a lot more drivers involved with it, potentially a lot more mayhem that's on offer as well, and just try and fall in love with getting through the order and enjoying the racing again.
Absolutely, and he enjoys his racing, because Lewis Kent, like I said, a better racer than qualifier, so if he can stick it on the front row of the grid, that is ominous for the rest of them, really, isn't it? But that's where he is right now. Spencer Stevenson goes 6th, up ahead of Harvey Caton. So that was an improvement, bottom end of the top 10. Here was Jordan Brennan, meanwhile, towards us. So he's up and running again. So he was going slowly earlier on. Has he been in the pit lane? I'm not sure. He's currently where in the running order? So many of them. 23rd. Everyone other than Harry England, by the way, having set a lap time, must have had an improvement from the reigning champ.
Yeah, inside the top 10 would surprise him, would it?
Yes, apparently so.
That's what I thought. Max Edmondson into second place, then just behind Josh Files with 0.3 of a second. It's not just behind, but it's probably closer than he was expecting. And you got Lewis Kent, previous champion, like we mentioned, Alistair Camp and Sam Kirkpatrick. Spencer Stevenson, 1.2 seconds off, is probably what Max Edmondson was alluding to in terms of that weight that's on board. Stevenson may be slightly struggling with a little bit more than some other drivers. Jack Ruddle up into 8th, well, down to 9th actually now, because Will Redford's just improved up to 6th position, is pretty good. Another driver who I think will be ever so slightly disappointed in his running, because I was hoping for better for him, is Simon Welch, who's currently all the way down in 22nd position. Mr. Squelch himself. I'm just having a look. He's going for the Goodyear Diamond Award Championship. Currently second for Mark Hughes. Now, Mark Hughes is in 20th place on the grid, so Simon Welch doesn't have to find that much time to catch up to the back of him. But in fact, actually, I think he might be 21st now. My TSL is a little bit slower than what's on the screen. William Butt is now in 20th place. Dave Marshall doesn't seem to be finding any kind of pace, though, does he?
No, that's intriguing, isn't it, Dave Marshall, really? 16th, 3.1 seconds off the pace, and crucially, about 2.5 seconds off the pace of Alistair Camp in the other of the really quick FN2s, so that's a little bit of a strange one. Lewis Kent here backed off on that previous lap, so I think he's been trying to find some clear track, and will have time to complete this lap and one more if he wants it. Not really close enough to that car ahead to get much of a slipstream, so he's going for it on his own. And remember, he said, didn't he, that if you don't have a slipstream, you could be losing 4 or 5 tenths a lap. Well, he's 4.5 tenths off pole position. He, I'm sure, will tell us that's because he didn't have a slipstream, but actually there might be some truth to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to quickly jump back on what I was saying, as I was saying about Hughes versus Welch, Simon Welch actually did jump ahead of Hughes. It's just my TSL, as I said, is slightly slower than what's actually on your screen. So, yeah, we did see a bit of a change there for the Diamond Championship. Dave Marshall jumps up to 11th place. Well spotted there, Andy. So he did finally get something together. But Jordan Brennan's the other driver that I mentioned. Well, we've seen a few times, obviously going slowly, still stuck down in 25th position. With only a minute and 20 seconds left to go, can he get onto one more flying lap? We know Jordan Brennan is easily quick enough to crack inside the top 10, given good state of running, but he hasn't had a good state of running. So with the sun sort of cracking through a little bit, can he finally find some heat and some momentum? There is Dave Marshall, a little bit of a puff of smoke from a driver in front of him going into Agostini, and is that Max Edmondson just pulling out of the way? He's not worried about going for pole by the looks of it, or maybe he's just lining up for the next lap, trying to find some space. As Harvey Caton is on our picture.
Only 50 seconds left though, so Edmondson is done. I mean, he's already massively achieved in this session, hasn't he, by his own sort of pre-session expectations. Second place, 3/10 off pole position, not a bad effort, it must be said. Josh Files 209.1 by the way, so not into the 208, still slower than Dan Thackeray went in qualifying last year. So yes, Max Edmondson was correct in that Files is looking the favourite for pole position, but not maybe going quite as quickly as some people would have expected. Here towards us comes Harvey Caton. Harvey Caton 8th quickest in, hard to believe really, his 3rd season of Milltek Sports Civic Cup racing. He still barely looks old enough to be out of a go-kart, but very rapid driver, always has been rapid, led laps in his very first season with us. Goes a little bit beyond track limits there out of the bomb hole, and with the time now tipped down to 0, that will likely be his final lap of the session scuppered. But Harvey Caton inside the top 10. And perhaps unlikely to improve. We did just have an improvement for Daniel Petters, though. He's gone 12th quickest in the number 86 car, quicker than Jamie Petters, who is down in 17th place at the moment. Caton is going to complete the lap. We'll see for what it's worth whether it is an improvement. He did sort of go beyond the edge of the curb, but if it's not being monitored, track limits at that corner, he'll get away with it. It was a slow lap anyway, so he stays down in 8th position. It looks as though it will be Josh Files then, lining up on pole position this afternoon.
Yeah, I didn't see any massive improvements from any of the other drivers either outside the top 5, and you see the likes of Lewis Kent, who's already in the pit lane. Alistair Camp, Max Edmondson's just come into the pits as well, so yeah, I think Josh Files' pole position is fairly safe unless Alistair Camp really can pull something out of the bag, which I somewhat doubts. I hear the siren in the background, which means more drivers are pulling into the pits. Well, Josh Bromley moves ahead of Scott Smith. Daniel Petters going ahead of Nick Cristofaro as well, the British GT team owner. Had a chat to him on for the socials, Civic Cup socials actually, so if you want to go and watch that, it's all on the Civic Cup. As a few of the marshals are dragging the drivers in slightly early. It's a bit of an odd place to go, but it is what it is. I'm sure the marshals know far more about what they're doing than I do. They do a brilliant job, and we can't say a big enough thank you for the marshals and everything they do. They are all volunteers, of course, and they're a great community to be a part of. We're hoping to do a a grid walk tomorrow for the TCRs, me and Paul O'Neill. And last time at Brands Hatch, Paul made a point of going over to chat to the marshals, and just a stunning group of people, to be honest. And if you want to get involved in motorsport, but you don't really know how, trust me, have a search for the Orange Army, because they are top people. Right, the results for qualifying here at the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. Josh Files will be on pole position. Max Edmondson 0.3 of a second behind him, but underestimating himself before. Maybe he was just playing those mind games. Either way, it's an area motorsport top 5. Didn't notice that before, actually. Lewis Kent in 3rd with Alistair Camp in the FN2 in 4th. Sam Kirkpatrick in 5th, doing better than potentially what we were expecting. Maybe he's the surprise package going into this weekend. 16th in the championship. We didn't really speak about him much at Brands Hatch. We're certainly going to be speaking about him here at Snetterton. Will Redford, the top end of the Ben Sharp Motorsport team. He's in 6th with Spencer Stevenson in 7th place. Harvey Caton in 8th. Jack Ruddle in 9th. Liam McGill in 10th. Nicholas Cristofaro is in 11th place, with Dave Marshall dropping down to 12th as Cristofaro just got ahead of him. Daniel Petters was relegated to 13th late on, with Owen Hillman in 14th. 15th was Josh Bromley, with 16th being Scott Smith. Jamie Petters is in 17th with Wesley Swain in 18th. Jordan Brennan ended up going from 25th up to 19th. Not a qualifying that he'll want to remember, and he'll have to get that car sorted out sooner rather than later, because they do have a race coming this afternoon. We'll more on that in a second. Aidan Hassan was in 20th place with Harry England, one of the new karting prodigies coming up through the order. In 21st, Mark Hughes in 22nd, ahead of William Butt in 23rd and Simon Welch in 24th. Alex Kite ended up at 25th position. So Mark Hughes getting the bragging rights for the Goodyear Diamond Award Championship in terms of qualifying. And the Paul Winfield Trophy Championship is the drivers new to the championship, which is Spencer Stevens' son. Is probably the driver that we're seeing on, in brackets, air quotes even, pole position for that one, and is currently leading that championship ahead of Owen Hillman, who's on 85 points. Spencer Stevenson's on 129, so a massive sort of gain in Spencer Stevenson's way. If you're wondering what's going to happen in terms of the races this afternoon, then I can very quickly tell you. You've seen all the qualifying that we've got here for the broadcast. We've had already the TCR UK and the Milltek Sport Civic Cup. We will cut to a... We will cut the broadcast there, and we will restart a new one on the TCR UK YouTube page, which will... Oh, we're going to throw to Andy right now, apparently. So, Andy McEwen is in with all the reaction from the Civic Cup qualifying.
So down here in the Parc Ferme area with our pole sitter Josh Files, your teammate Max Edmondson confidently predicted that you'd be on pole, but he said you'd be about 3/10 quicker. You're slacking a bit.
I know. Yesterday I didn't want to give it away, but I was quite easily in the 8s, so I've lost a bit of speed today. So I'm happy to be on pole, obviously. It's nice to be at the local track as well, and the car's working how I want it, but funnily enough, I've gone a bit backwards, so I'm semi-disappointed.
Could that be, in your defence, the fact that, as you predicted, it's getting a bit warmer now?
Yeah, and looking at the sessions before, with all the TTs and the TCR from yesterday, they've all lost time as well. So I think the track's obviously just slowed down a little bit. But it's nice to be on pole. It's nice to be on pole by a few tenths as well. So that's nice, and hopefully the race translates to the same.
Well, that was my next point, I guess. Then 0.3 of a second in Civic Cup terms is pretty healthy, isn't it? But do you think that will translate into a easy race? It won't be easy, but you know what I mean.
Not with Max sniffing around and Lewis behind as well, but no, I think it'll be a hard race. It'll be a tough race. It all comes down to who gets off the line in his turn 1 first, really. And the nice thing is that it's my teammates around me, so I'm sure Rob will give us a little prep talk and say don't do anything stupid, and fingers crossed that happens.
Indeed. So, right, thank you, Josh. Congratulations on pole position. Josh File starting from the front of the grid for our first race later on. Now, let's see who else we can find. I'm going to wander down this way. They are hardly fit in the Parc Ferme area, all these drivers. Actually, let's wander over this way, shall we? Because Alistair Camp just missed out on the top 3, but he's starting on the second row of the grid. Alistair, not bad. You were a little bit... Let's move over this way, shall we, so we don't get run over by Wesley Swain, who's trying to manoeuvre into the Parc Ferme garage. 4th place on the grid. Satisfied with that? It's a step forward from Brands, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely really satisfied with it. We went for one more roll of the dice, but hey, the flag got us before we could get round and have another lap. But yeah, it feels better than what it was in the initial, so we're hoping it will go strong again for the race. Yeah, really happy with it. Like I said, the boys are doing a mega job. We just keep learning from the car, obviously, because none of us have ever developed this car. So yeah, it's really enjoyable.
What would you say has been the biggest thing that you have learnt then so far? Because obviously everyone says it's a very different car to drive, to set up. Has there been one fundamental thing, or is it lots of little things?
Lots of things. Like obviously, I'm not saying you don't believe other drivers, but like Dave was saying to me, like you'll change from track to track. And obviously with the EP3s, we didn't normally do that. It was just similar setups, you changed little bits, but it's a massive difference. Like from what we used at Brands to what we're using here is massively different. Like I drove the car the first session yesterday, and the car was awful. And it was the same what we finished with at Brands. And I know it didn't look the best at Brands, but it would turn in. But obviously it was just down to the fact we were trying to keep the power, because we had the power issue, like that it wasn't picking up for us enough. So, no, it's good. Enjoying it.
Excellent. Well, best of luck for the first race then. Alistair Camp will be starting 4th for that first race a little bit later on. Right, who's down this way then? Let's, majority of drivers congregating down this way. And actually, I've just spotted someone who I do want to have a chat with. Might not be a particularly positive interview, because I think he had some difficulties in qualifying, but Alex Kite is over here chatting to one of the TCR organisers. I wonder if, can I just quickly step in here, because I want to talk about what went wrong in that session, because you weren't going as quickly as we'd expect.
I didn't think there was many things that went right in that session, but yeah, no, we got a bit of an engine problem. It seems like a bit of like an oil starvation issue. Had it on the first flying lap was good, and then from there on in it just seemed to splutter anything over like 5,500 RPM. So anything below that just seemed real low on power. So yeah, not quite sure what the problem is yet, but hopefully we'll get it sorted for race 1. So trouble is we haven't done enough laps yet to do the qualifying. So But we're just having that discussion with Leanne, but hopefully we can try and resurrect that issue. But
You've done enough laps around here in the past, I think you should be all right. But if you can get out there for the first race, obviously that's a very short turnaround for the team to get it sorted. Like you said, you're going into it a little bit blind as well, but is it at least a track that you feel you can race on and move forward over the weekend?
yeah, I've gone round here well in other things that I've raced before, so yeah, hopefully it'd be a bit of a fun race, I think, trying to come from the back and work our way through. But yeah, we'll see how we get on.
Excellent, thanks for having a chat. We'll let you go back to a far more important conversation about whether he's going to get out on the grid for the race later on. Further down this way, I see another little gathering of drivers. We chatted to Liam McGill earlier on, that's his car there. Morgan Bailey is here. Sorry if I can just have a little chat with Morgan, because we don't get to talk to you very often these days. You're the wrong side of this fence, mate. What's going on?
Well, we're supporting Jack this year. It's his first outing this year. We're racing a few other things. Untested today. He's the quickest untested driver, so he's happy with that. New tyres round here are quite important, and by the time he'd done that 4 laps to get his head round things, obviously he's lost the best of them. So yeah, he's happy. We're in a good place, so see how we get on.
You must get sort of itchy feet a little bit, mustn't you? I know you enjoy getting involved in this end, and you've got a lot of expertise that you can pass on, which I'm sure he's really appreciating, but you'd love to be in a car, right?
Yeah, I do enjoy it, don't get me wrong. We're doing a couple of other things now, but yeah, business-wise it's good, and yeah, Jack's enjoying himself, so we'll keep pushing.
What's the biggest thing that you're pushing him on then? You know, he's obviously taken a big step forward even since Brands Hatch, hasn't he? But what are you really working on with him?
Confidence-wise now, obviously he's got a full season under his belt. You can really see that. And now he's a lot better at telling me what the car wants. So that's a big help from my point of view as well. So yeah, working together quite well.
Good stuff. Well, good to see you, and I'm sure you'll continue on passing on those pearls of wisdom. In fact, let's have a word, shall we then? What do you reckon? Is he talking some sense?
Yeah, he's talking some sense, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty happy with how qualifying went. Didn't do any testing yesterday, so yeah, can't be any happier, to be honest, but yeah.
It's a tricky track, this, though, isn't it? Because there's so much to get right over the course of a lap. On a map, you look at Snetterton, it looks pretty straightforward. Lots of straights, hairpin, straight hairpin, but they're all subtly different. And if you get one wrong, that's your whole lap scuppered.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of technical bits, there's slow corners, there's a lot of fast corners. So yeah, super pleased with how the result how we got the result and everything. But we're doing a lot more testing around all the other tracks, so hopefully we'll get qualified further up as we go.
Excellent stuff, Jack. Thanks for having a chat then. So Jack Riddell, Morgan Bailey giving him a few coaching tips as the weekend goes on. Who else is around? Will Redford. Let's